Hello, everybody. I'll try to speak slowly because I have an Australian accent and that can sometimes be a problem. Firstly, it's a big honor for me to be here in Turkey at the Kristal Festivali'ni, so thank you for having me. I am indeed going to tell you today about why what we do in this room put us in the predicament we're in with Donald Trump as president. I'm also going to tell you why Coca-Cola shat the bed on their marketing as well. So I'm basically going to tell you why America used to be quite great, isn't so great anymore, and why Coke's marketing used to be great and isn't so great anymore. So basically, the power we have as marketers, there's a little delay on the button here, let me just make sure it comes up, is, let's try it again. Is she coming? No? Okay. Is this clicker not working? All right, thanks. All right, here we go. So, the good news about Trump, the good news about Trump being president, there's only one bit of good news, and it's to teach us a valuable lesson about marketing. When it comes to Coke, the fact that they have gone from great marketing to terrible marketing is a good thing because it's saved us all from a host of type 2 diabetes, obesity, and other sugar-related illnesses. So advertising is that powerful, and it does have the power to change the world for better or for worse. And I can 100% tell you that the reason Donald Trump is president and Hillary Clinton is not is because he ran on a big idea and Hillary Clinton ran on a tagline. And I can tell you that Coca-Cola's marketing was great because they were running on a big idea and now they're running on a tagline. So it's really important to understand the differences between the two because they really do have the power to change the world. So how do we figure out what a big idea is, what a tagline is? I'm so glad you asked. Let's look at the ecosystem first. Very simply, the ecosystem we probably all know is there's a tagline, it's the Mac Daddy, the king. You got your campaign line, your big idea, and then you have executions that come off that. So in the case of Nike, a global campaign from a few years ago, Just Do It is their tagline, has been for many years. In the example I'm going to show you, Write the Future for the Soccer World Cup was the big idea. And then off that were lots of executions across every platform. Okay? So that's kind of how an ecosystem works in situ. But let's talk about taglines first, because taglines are interesting. And I've given the word taglines its own tagline. And it doesn't actually have a tagline, and it's not trademarked, but this is advertising and there's no room for the truth. Taglines are often mistaken for big ideas. Hillary Clinton made this mistake, and Coca-Cola's made this mistake as well. And you have to understand, taglines are not big ideas. Simply, they are not. So, the reason they're not is because taglines can last forever. There's Just Do It's been around for 20 years. This tagline's been around for 136 years. 136. That's longer than Grandma here. So, what every great tagline does is it expresses a statement of fact or a statement of attitude. And a statement of fact will never change, and a statement of attitude should never change. And I'll show you some examples here. So we have a bunch of current day taglines here, including one from one of your brands in the middle. And they are all, as you can see, either facts or attitudes, okay? None of them are actually big ideas. None of them are actually anything that inspires you to take an action. They are simply the North Star of the brand. So we're going to look at Stronger Together in a minute in a bit more detail. But I want to ask you, what's the point of taglines? Well, let's dissect one to see its hidden meaning here. So just do it. Great tagline, been around for a long time. The brand truth for Nike is sport to the max no matter what. What does that mean for the person who likes or wears Nike? Well, it means if I wear Nike, it shows I'm very serious about training and competing hard anytime, anywhere. It's that real, like, go for it, empty the tank, sweat kind of feeling, right? And why it's great, Just Do It works for any sport in their whole portfolio. Their brand role, therefore, is to help you break through your barriers. And every campaign Nike's ever done fits under it absolutely beautifully, okay? Because Just Do It's this lofty North Star attitude that they've been living under. Now, if we look at Stronger Together for Hillary, the brand truth here under this tagline is, if we all come together as one nation, we will all be better for it, not just Democrats. What it means for the person hearing this is the focus is to be the antithesis of Trump. It was obviously a response and a reaction to what Trump was doing, the creation of this tagline. So for them, for the people who aren't voting for aren't voting for Hillary, they're thinking this woman doesn't have the strength or the gumption to stand up to Putin or Jong-un because she needs us to help her make stronger. She needs us to help make her stronger on the global stage. And the other problem is, it's not great. It's a bit boring, okay? So she ran on this tagline of Stronger Together, and it was incredibly boring. The problem is that she and her team thought they were running on a big idea platform, and they weren't. A big idea can make you laugh, it can make you cry, it can make you take an action, but a tagline can't, shouldn't, and never will. Now, there's a big reason why big ideas are important, and if you've seen Don Draper's apartment in Mad Men, then you'll know why. I'm going to take you through a sort of a concept session for a big idea here. And I want you to channel your inner child for a second, okay? Because when it comes to the actual point of coming up with a big idea, it's really mysterious and it's really fucking hard to sit down with a blank page in front of you and try to figure out how to start the process of becoming, of birthing a big idea. It's really hard. Until now. I'm going to take you back to a time back when you were a kid, when you were 7 years old and you were full of ideas and you were talking to your friends about all these plans and stuff. And I'm going to take you to a time when you had the biggest ideas you've ever had. Bigger ideas then than you have now in your professional working lives. Let me tell you a little story here. My big sister thinks she's such a big shot, that she's so much better than me. I'm sick of it. I need to take her down a peg. She hates clowns, and I mean hates them. So I'm going to have clowns invade her space when she's alone and least expects it. Next time she comes home after school and no one's here for her to cry to, Wednesdays, because I have football and mum works late, she's going to find a scary-ass clown I made at school in art class hanging inside the fridge when she opens it to make her peanut butter and jelly sandwich, which she does every day after school. She'll scream so loud. That'll show her who's boss. All right. Let's break down this incredible campaign. Problem. My big sister thinks she's such a big shot, that she's so much better than me, I'm sick of it. Campaign objective. I need to take her down a peg. Consumer insight. She hates clowns. Big idea. I'm going to have clowns invade her personal space when she's alone and least expects it. Execution of that big idea. Next time she comes home from school and no one's here for her to cry to, I'm going to put a scary-ass clown in the fridge and I'm going to shock her. Behavioral truth. She makes a sandwich every day after school. And the action we're intending here, the immediate response, she'll scream so loud. The longer term reaction is that'll show her who's boss. You've been coming up with big ideas your entire life and you just don't realize it. So, if we come back to the big idea here, I'm going to have clowns invade her personal space when she's alone and least expects it. If you gave that idea to a kid, they would execute it everywhere. They'd put clown pictures under the kid's pillow, they'd put them in the toilet, they'd put them in the car seat, they'd put them everywhere. And there'd be a brilliant campaign executed in all kinds of unexpected places, okay? So that's a good sign of a big idea that's concepted from really going back to just being creative and having a conversation. And that's what a big idea does. It goes everywhere and it goes beautifully. So the first thing I want to say to you guys is, and I was guilty of this for a long time, when you're coming up with a big idea, put down your pen. Don't use paper. Do anything but. Stop writing taglines, crack an FS, and have a conversation with someone. It's really, really important that you just start talking and actually like having a conversation. There are lots of people who will say, yeah, well, the big idea has to get down to this pithy line. And it's true, it does, but not during that concepting phase. During that concepting phase, think of your idea as a puppy, okay? It's got to be shaped, it's got to be disciplined, it's got to be let loose, you've got to have fun with it. You've got to have fun with this puppy and let it do its thing, because it's really, really important that you let them be free. And you can't ignore a puppy. Once you can see that puppy, you can't ignore it. You've got this idea. You keep playing with it, playing with it, playing with it. How cool are puppies? Hashtag bring on the puppies. There are other people who love this soundbite of, oh, you've got to fit your business, your big idea on a business card. It has to fit on a business card. And it's such bullshit. I can fit almost a whole chapter of Charles Dickens' A Tale of Two Cities on a business card. There's plenty of time to get to the point where your idea can fit on a business card. Don't let that worry you in the first phase. Your big idea might be a whole page long in the beginning, and you might get it down to that that very short write the future line eventually. Don't put pressure on yourself to do that just yet. Now, the best method I've come up with for coming up with a big idea is so dumb and so simple that it's almost criminal. And it's starting out every conversation with, I have an idea, let's. If you complete that sentence with one of these 4 words, you have yourself a big idea. I guarantee it. It may not be a good big idea, but it is a big idea. I have an idea. Let's create, show, demonstrate, celebrate. This is the ultimate litmus test to see if what you have is a big idea or a tagline. Let's put this to the test with Just Do It, which is a tagline. So if we were putting this through the test, we have the same brand truth. The big idea is, I have an idea. Let's celebrate those who train and play with everything they've got. That doesn't really sound like a very good big idea to me. It sounds like it's one of those things where you get a bunch of athletes in and you do little documentaries on them. It's kind of shit. And you can kind of see there's not a lot of legs to that idea. It's kind of vague and a bit weird. Now, let's put that test to that World Cup idea that we talked about, the Write the Future. The big idea that the creators probably came up with went something like this. I have an idea. Let's show that every play you make, every move you make during the Soccer World Cup can make or break your career, your legacy, or your life. Like, shit, okay. And then what is Nike's role in the campaign? You should wear the shoes the best players in the world trust on the biggest stage there is. So you go, shit, that's pretty cool. And then they come up with this campaign, Write the Future. which you've probably seen executed in many ways beautifully years ago. But we've got Rooney there as in the caravan park. You've got the guy here as a statue. Beautiful campaign, Right the Future, that lives beneath Just Do It really, really nicely. Now, if we go back to Trump, let's have a look at what he did right or wrong, in my view. So his truth is a non-politician who's going to shake up Washington by any means necessary for the benefit of America. So the big idea that he ran on is, I have an idea, let's show Americans the superpower they call home and love has lost its way and needs someone to come in and make it truly wonderful again. And Trump's role was to execute that across many different platforms, building a border wall, tightening up the borders, getting coal miners their jobs back, leaving the Paris Accord. All this kind of shit that he's doing is executing off this horrible but big idea. And when you look at this, it's really interesting because when you look at what he does, it becomes something that you, as a voter, you can see what's in it for you. You can see clearly that Make America Great Again is something that, I can see what's in it for me. But Stronger Together, I can't see what's in that for me. It makes me feel like I have to do something. So when we look at these two campaigns for Nike and Trump, you have to answer the question, what's in it for me? So Make America Great Again was a great campaign line because it is something that I can interpret any way I want. If I'm 85 years old and I want better Medicare, he promised that. If I think the borders are too porous, he promised something there. Whatever great means to me, he said he would deliver on it. Whereas Stronger Together just made me think, I have to do something here. That's not cool. When you look at Right the Future, it's the same sort of thing. It's like an invitation. It's an invitation for you to come in and wear Nikes and be this hero and do something great on the soccer field in front of your friends. It's a really, really big thing. Whereas if you ran a campaign just based on Just Do It, it's kind of like someone's directing you. They're sort of like throwing something at you and giving you an order. It's not really a seductive campaign, which is why Just Do It is a tagline and not the big idea. Now, I want to talk about where Coke went wrong. Yes, I'm going to tell you why one of the biggest brands in the world fucked up their marketing. So, it's interesting that they basically, let's see here. It's interesting that Coke started out with a big idea. For years, they had a big idea, open happiness. And then they went to a tagline, which you've seen around, which is taste the feeling. And I suspect that, well, either Coke doesn't know the difference between a big idea and a tagline, or the agencies and the client just got tired of fighting about it, and the client ended up winning. I'm not sure which one happened, but something bad happened there, and the work has suffered as a result. But let's test out my theory on how to come up with big ideas for the previous campaign, Open Happiness. I have an idea. Let's show how opening a bottle of Coke brings immediate and overwhelming happiness to you and everyone around you. Fantastic. Isn't that great? Don't think about the sugar. Don't think about all the crap that's in the Coke. Just open up that bottle and enjoy it. Everybody will be happy over healthy any day. I take happy over healthy. And it's an irrefutable truth. It's an emotional driver. When you open a bottle of Coke, it is a little treat. It's like, oh, nice. You take a sip and it's really delicious. It's delicious. So the genius of that idea was that it really, really pulled at an emotional lever and ignored any of the rational stuff, which is really, really cool. And as a result, the work that you probably saw, this is just one sample, but it was very creative, very cool, won tons of awards, beautiful work. Because when you look at a platform like Happiness as a creative person, you can go nuts. I mean, that's just like, thank you, let's go, you know? And it's really, really cool. Now, let's take a look at the current campaign line. I don't even know if I can call this a line. I don't even know if this is English. I mean, I don't even understand the cadence of taste the feeling. And in fact, when this line came out is when I decided to do this talk, this subject, and that's when I realized that Trump and Hillary had the same thing. But this was the impetus, taste the feeling. Let's put this through my tester as well and see how it looks. I have an idea. Let's celebrate the taste you feel when you drink a Coca-Cola. Or is it, I have an idea, let's celebrate the feel you taste when you drink a Coca-Cola. I've never personally tasted a feeling, I don't think. Maybe I've tasted hate with like an old piece of chicken, I don't know. But it doesn't quite work when you put it through this test. When you put it through the big idea test, it does not work. So, they went from a big idea to a tagline, which is why the work now looks like this. So this is the current campaign of work from all over the world, and it really is unfortunate how bad it's become. It's pretty models, kind of drinking, kind of not, or just looking confused about why she even got cast in a Coke ad, making out with statues. I don't know if that's legal. And then you can see the TV down here is just, it's just advertising. It's just crap. It's like the stuff you saw in the 90s, it's bad stuff. So the work has suffered, and the reason the work has suffered is because, the reason the work has suffered is because if you're a creative and you're concepting to a tagline, it's like you're concepting in a vacuum. You're concepting in this vortex where you don't actually know how to execute off it. And they're never going to be able to execute off this. They're never going to execute anything interesting. It's going to be the same stuff because it's not a big idea, it's a tagline. And then I think that's pretty much it. Thank you.